and thank you for tuning in to Starting Small. Today, I'm joined by Chris Gronkowski of Ice Shaker. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. Of
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
course. Well, I'd like to start out with your upbringing. Where did you grow up, and what would you say your childhood was like?
For sure, man. So it was pretty wild. Grew up in Buffalo, New York. I was the middle of five boys. So I don't know how my parents pulled it off, but
Yeah,
it was mayhem, man. I still remember like there was no furniture in our house besides a couch, and just a rocking chair for the other babies in the house. But everything kind of just was either broken or became a weapon at some point. So my parents didn't hang anything on the walls. There's really nothing nice in the house, and all the pillows were just ripped off the couch and used as really just as like a wrestling match is kind of what it came down to. So
yeah,
every day started with a fight, ended in a fight, and it's just a competition with everything we did.
yeah. I'm curious, what kind of sparked like the athlete background within your brothers? Did your family were they involved with sports, or where did that come from?
Yeah, man. Started really with hockey and baseball. Our
Mhm.
parents got us into those two sports early on, and then everything else just kind of came from competing at home with each other, with friends. We kind of had that neighborhood where everyone seemed to have a boy that was our age.
Yeah,
So we did end up having, four or five other neighborhood kids over the house as well. And we just compete in anything from, backyard baseball. We had a game we called mini stakes we played in our basement. Just down to, man, like with the brothers, like who could eat more, who could lift more, you know, really whatever we were doing somehow became a competition.
yeah. For sure. Well, I saw you went on to study at Arizona. What led this decision? Was it solely to focus on football? And then also, what did you study there?
Yeah, so Arizona, I ended up transferring there. I went to Maryland first.
Mhm.
Was committed to the University of Penn. Got a last minute offer to Maryland, and I took that. And from there, I had my brother coming out of high school at that point, one of the biggest recruits in the nation, and he took a visit to Arizona and absolutely loved it. I was stuck in a situation at Maryland where I didn't love it, so
Hmm.
I ended up taking a trip out there myself as well, and loved the atmosphere. Saw it as an opportunity to turn a program around, and
Yeah.
went to a couple pool parties, and we were sold on Arizona. So it was all good, man. Ended up going out there. Went to the first bowl game that they went to in over 10 years, and it was a great experience for us.
For sure. So, what was that experience like playing football with your brother then, especially at the same university?
Man, I always tell people like that's what took us to another level.
Yeah.
Uh, when you're in the locker room together and you're playing with your family member, like, man, you guys are trying to one up each other.
Yeah.
You're trying to perform because you're going to go into the film room, and there's no one that's going to talk more trash to you than your own sibling. So
For sure.
you had to ball out, man. And I always thought, every workout we were competing against each other. Every practice we were trying to, show who was better out of the brothers. So I always thought it took us to a whole different level by playing together.
Yeah. Totally. I typically like to ask guests when you were in college, what were some of those aspirations that you saw post college, especially with you? It's unique. You're focused on football. So, what was that aspiration for you? Was it to go into the NFL? What was that?
Yeah, for me, I actually didn't think it was even possible for me to go to the NFL. I was told, one in a million chances. I had two brothers that were better than me, so if it was one in a million, it wasn't going to be me. It was going to be one of them. Uh, you know, Lucky enough, we all stayed healthy. We were all able to perform, and four out of five of us played in the NFL. But for me, I just didn't think it was even in the cards. So I went to school thinking, hey, let's get a free ride. Let's get the best degree I possibly could.
Yeah.
I was one of two football players in the business school at Arizona, and I got an accounting degree. Just
Amazing.
thinking that I'm really good with numbers. If anything, I could fall back and on that degree and become a CPA or something else in the accounting world, and make some good money at least. So
Yeah.
I got lucky. I had one chance, one opportunity to go undrafted to the Cowboys, and it made the roster. And at that point, once I made it for 1 year, the goal was three. At three, yeah, you get all the retirements benefits, you get vested, and that was kind of the goal at that point. It was,
Yep.
hey, I got one. How do I get three? Let's get three. Um, and then let's go and try to maximize as long as possible, but then
Yep.
really put yourself up for a really good start with whatever's next.
For sure. Amazing. I'm curious, what was that dynamic for your parents, especially with 4 boys going into the NFL? What was that like from their point of view, if you can tell me?
Man, that was like the proudest moment of their lives. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
for
Uh,
sure.
yeah, my parents definitely, they put in the work. I'm a parent now myself, and
Yeah,
you don't realize how much time and effort goes into raising kids, raising them the right way, and giving them the opportunities that we were given as well. So I'm sure they were extremely proud because of all the work that they also put in to help us get to where we were at. But
yeah.
my parents, they enjoyed it. They loved it. They got to travel around to pretty much every stadium
Wow.
uh, in the U.S. and overseas as well. So every once in a while, and really enjoy the experience. So uh, yeah, man, I'm hoping one day I get to do the same.
Of course, for sure. So you mentioned, the CPA background, accounting background. What did you end up doing then once you stepped away from the NFL, prior to Ice Shaker? What did you end up doing then?
Yeah, it was crazy because I had this game plan.
Yeah.
I knew I wouldn't play long in the NFL. I had this game plan to start doing players' taxes. I realized after my first season that, for the most part, this was the first time guys had a job where they had to file taxes, and
Mhm.
no one had any idea what to do. And on top of that, we also had to file on every state that we played in,
Wow.
making it more complicated than just a normal tax return. So
Yeah.
I went to a CPA and I got my taxes done, and I realized that they charge a lot of money
Yeah.
to do your taxes, especially for different states, and realized that there's a really good opportunity there. For the most part, guys, you don't get any tax breaks because you make too much money, so you phase out of every single possible tax break. So it's really super simple
Yeah.
when it comes down to it. So I knew guys would trust me because I was a former player. I knew how to get in front of them,
Mhm.
and I figured that would be a really good opportunity for me. So that was the game plan.
Yep.
My third season, third city, my wife was traveling with me to all these different cities and getting a new job everywhere she went. So third year, she said, I'm going to work from home. I'm going to find a way to do it. She started her own business, and it took off. So she's doing personalized gifts.
Wow.
Never thought I'd do it. Had no idea about the industry, but came home every day to her, just cranking out orders, and started
Wow.
looking at it myself. So when I was done playing my first 5 years, I worked with her to build her business called Everything Decorated that she still has today. And we grew that from our house to about
Wow.
10 employees, and
Wow.
pretty cool. It was making more money than my NFL career. So pretty cool start, but realized pretty quickly after about a couple phone calls for former teammates that I wasn't super passionate about it. I didn't really want to tell them what I was doing for a living. And at that point I
Yeah,
realized, man, like I want to chase and do what I love doing, which was sports and health and fitness.
for sure. Man, that's incredible what your wife has built with that in that time. I'm curious, this probably sparked your entrepreneurial spirit and then also your athletic background. This goes into Ice Shaker. What was the inspiration for Ice Shaker at this time, especially coming as an athlete?
Yeah, man. So I was working for my wife, and then I was still working out pretty
Yeah,
much every day. I was here in Texas. It was hot out, and I went to the gym and grabbed a plastic shaker. And by the time I got there, the ice in it was melted, sweating everywhere. I took a sip. It tasted awful from the other drink I had in it previously. And that was it, man. That was like that aha moment where, uh, I just went home and I was like, there's got to be something that's insulated that I could actually fill,
hmm,
blend, and mix powders and easily clean. And there just wasn't. Like, there's insulated bottles on the market. Yeti was
yeah,
crushing it. Uh, you know, Hydro Flask was out there doing their thing, and there was just nothing that was actually insulated that would blend though. So
yeah,
at that point, it was, let's do this. Let's make this product for myself. I'm super passionate about it, uh, and I did. I did. I went out and really just started sourcing product from the manufacturers that we're already currently using for my wife's business.
yeah. Awesome. What did that prototyping process look like for you? Were you testing different bottles in your kitchen and seeing how they would work? What was that like?
Yeah, man, I had some of the most jacked forearms ever because I was shaking hundreds of bottles. The biggest thing was sealing a metal bottle. They leak if you don't do it the right way. You got to
Yeah,
get the right seal, and that became like this mission. Like, let's make sure that this bottle, whatever we do, does not leak. So I shook hundreds of bottles for months,
yeah,
and it was tough. It was tough for sure, but
Yeah.
I would say probably about 20 prototypes later, we finally had a bottle that was good enough to bring to market.
Yeah.
And at that point, we pulled the trigger on it.
Wow. Incredible. So at those early years, especially with brothers in the NFL, your own background, did you lean onto kind of that network that you had as marketing in your early stages?
Man, I thought it would be easy. I
Yeah.
thought I'd throw a couple posts up on my social media, and it was always like, man, if 1% of people buy, like we'll be absolutely killing it. I'll need more product, and
Yeah.
just not the case at all, especially when you're building something from the ground up. People have to hear about the product, they have to trust it, they want to see reviews, they got to see it multiple times, and it just, I posted that first week, and I think I sold 2 bottles.
Really?
At that point, realized that this is going to be an absolute grind.
Yeah.
So what I leaned on was kind of the expertise that I learned from my wife's business.
Mhm.
I used someone else's network at first, which was, for her was Etsy, for me was Amazon.
Yeah.
I started building my Amazon listing. I just started really researching and studying the top listings and seeing why they were the top listings
Yeah.
and how I could become the top listing. And I got it up to the 3 spot with spending $0 on marketing,
Wow.
uh, which was pretty impressive. I started digging really into SEO and
Yeah.
how I also organically rank on Google and other search engines, and really put a lot of time and effort into that early on when I first built the website, and then just started doing shows.
Yeah.
I had to show up in person and really just hand the product to people. The main thing that really sold the product was taking a plastic shaker, filling it
Yep.
with ice, taking our ice shaker and filling it with ice, and then handing it to people. And at that time, like an insulated bottle wasn't really that popular. So
Yeah.
when we handed it to people, they were like, "Yeah, what's your point? Like, this one's cold and this one isn't." And it's like, well, that one also has ice in it. And people
Yeah.
would twist the top off and they'd see the ice inside of it and they were just blown away and they'd buy right on the spot. So
Wow.
started selling a lot of product for us. And then at that point, it was on to Shark Tank. We
Yeah.
had enough sales to kind of reach out at that point, had a proof of concept. And I reached out and was lucky enough to get a response.
I would love to hear about that experience on Shark Tank for you, especially kind of with your brothers and that pitching process. What was that like going on show with your new product?
Man, the show's legit.
Yeah.
People ask if it's fake or scripted, and it's not in any way. My
Yeah.
brothers, they had to hide them in the back room. They didn't want anyone to know that they were there. They didn't want the producers or anyone else on set to even know that they were there.
Yeah.
Uh, they showed up, and when they ran out of that back room, like the Sharks didn't even know my last name at that point. All they knew was my first name. They're not even allowed to know the name of the business before the pitch. So,
Wow.
uh, what you hear in those first 2 minutes is literally all that they know about you walking into it. And then brothers came out of the back room, and it just kind of became this epic scene. And I think everyone got caught up in the excitement. And the really hard questions never came. I was just waiting for Mr. Wonderful to just kind of like tear us apart at that point and
Yeah.
ask what the patent was and what's stopping him from making the Mr. Wonderful shaker. And
Yeah.
our questions never came because we were just, I think it was just because we were having so much fun on set.
For sure.
Uh, but yeah, it was legit. We ended up closing the deal. The money really comes in. I think after my brother Rob was didn't realize like that they put their real money in, and
Yeah.
he had been on some shows in the past where they're reality TV and they're not really reality TV. So
Yeah.
uh, he didn't realize that like, hey, this is the real deal. The money's really going to be wired into the account, and he kind of found that out afterwards because I was so pumped about closing the deal with Mark and Alex. So
Yeah.
uh, overall, amazing experience. Explodes the business, and
For sure.
the one thing that people don't see is it also explodes the amount of work that needs to be done
For sure.
over the next couple of weeks or months or even year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we probably that first week. I mean, it's a 50 to 100x. I mean, it's out of
Wow.
control.
Wow.
But throughout the next 12 months, we probably overall probably about 20x the company
Wow.
over the next 12 months.
That's incredible. I'm curious, what does the Sharks' involvement look like, especially when you bring them on as an investor? Are they pretty involved or their team? What does that look like?
So yeah, it's with Mark. It was his team. He's built
Yep.
out marketing companies. It's about 15 employees, and their whole goal and job is to help out his investment company. So their majority are Shark Tank companies. He does have some other companies in his portfolio as well that he's invested into. But if you want to talk to Mark, he will answer an email usually within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not going to usually be super in depth unless you call for a meeting or something like that. But I kind of knew what I was getting into when I went on Shark Tank. This
Mhm.
is $75,000 investment to a billionaire, to a
Yeah.
multi-billionaire. And that's kind of how I looked at it and what kind of attention I expected from it. So
Yeah.
his team's amazing. I talk to my advisor almost weekly at this point, sometimes multiple times a week. And
Mhm.
what's really cool about Mark Cuban Companies is first off, the networking.
Yeah.
You have another 80 to 100 companies that you can network with. You can ask questions, get an unbiased opinion on pretty much anything.
Mm.
The second thing is, man, just power in numbers. Like they're able to bargain some really good deals for us
Yeah.
uh, because they are able to go to a company that might specialize in email marketing or
Mm.
SMS or whatever it is and just say, hey, I'll onboard 50 to 80 companies for you, but we as a whole we want a 20% discount.
Yeah.
So something that saves me a lot of money over time, and it
Yep.
also vets out really good companies. So huge advantage to have them on the team for that.
Yep.
Just having Mark in your company always opens doors. So when you say, Mark Cuban invest in your company, people automatically assume you're legit,
Yeah.
even though we weren't that legit at the very beginning. Uh, so definitely opened up doors, got us into GNC immediately, got us onto QVC, got us onto Good Morning America, all
Wow.
just for having Mark on the team. So a lot of really big benefits come from having one of the Sharks.
Yep.
But the day-to-day stuff, man, it's still you. Like they're not coming in, they're not taking over your company, they're not
Yeah.
telling you how to run it. Unless they have to, unless they really need to, unless you're really struggling.
Yeah.
Um, they're there to help. They're not there to take over the company.
Yeah.
At least not unless you really need it, or unless they came in at an equity standpoint where they have a majority, then it might be a different scenario.
For sure. I'm curious, with some of the feedback that you've gotten, what do you see as the main demographic? And it's a universal product, but what would you say?
Man, it's been super interesting. So
Mhm.
early on, like I advertised directly to people that were exactly like me.
Yeah.
I'm going, for the guy that's going to go crush weights and I was going to chug protein shakes, and found out really quickly that even though I might be the end consumer, I'm probably not going to be the guy that even buys it. It's going to
Yeah.
be the wife or the girlfriend or the mom, even the grandma that might be buying the product for their husband, kids, or grandkids. So
Yeah.
uh, found out really quickly that the purchasing power lies with the female demographic for the most part, especially if you're trying to buy or get to someone that's going to buy multiples or rebuy or buy as gifts.
Yeah.
Uh, so started targeting really everyone to kind of get a bigger view of who it was. And then shows like UVC and Good Morning America and even Shark Tank, like it was
Mhm.
majority females purchasing,
Wow.
which is very interesting to see. So we then started to create products that were geared more towards females,
Yeah.
different colors, patterns, bottles, because they were buying, but they weren't necessarily buying for themselves. So we were missing out
Yeah.
on a part of the market. So
Mm.
switched our strategy. Some of our early bottles were geared specifically towards females,
Yeah.
and they did really well for us and still do.
Yep. What would you say, percentage wise is in store and then also online? Say Amazon. Would you say Amazon is solely your business right now?
No, so our website will still do more sales than Amazon does.
Oh,
Uh,
amazing.
so Amazon does. We started to focus more on it. The strategy early on was not to use Amazon.
Yeah.
I wanted to build my audience. I wanted to see who my demographic was. I wanted to control the narrative and the message, and
Mhm.
I wanted people to get our branding and get our experience. So we didn't stock Amazon very heavy when we aired on Shark Tank, and we probably could have sold a lot more product and volume if we did, because we sold out on Amazon within 30 minutes.
Wow.
But I wanted to know our customer, and I wanted to get that database. So we did, and we did a good job of doing that, and still do a good job collecting emails and data and reconnecting with our customers and sending personal videos and
Amazing.
uh, really trying to engage with them. So that's been huge for us. And then we have a good split. We do have retail,
Yeah.
GNC, Vitamin Shop, all the Lifetime Fitnesses, 24 hours.
Wow.
So it's been a good mix for us, but I would say we're still heavier online than we are in retail.
For sure. Awesome. Well, I like to conclude each episode with this. If you can share one piece of advice with an aspiring entrepreneur, maybe something you've learned or regret along the way, what would you say that would be?
Oh man, for sure.
Mhm.
I always say right from the beginning, I say start small. Both businesses I started were small
Yeah,
to start with. My wife started hers with, maybe a couple $1,000s, if even that. Prove the concept and then go all in. Make sure it's going to work. You think your idea is the best in the world because it's
yeah,
your idea. A lot of times it's not. A lot of
yeah,
times there's not always a path to success. So make sure that path is there first. Figure out that path and then go all in.
for
I
sure.
did something with Ice Shaker as well. It was a side hustle. The upstairs in my house, I would do it after hours. I would ship the product out and answer emails,
Mm.
do the shows on the weekend. And when it finally got to the spot where it made sense to go all in, I went all in at that point.
Yeah,
But up until then, like it was just a side hustle that I loved doing. And you got to be passionate about what you're doing as well. If it's just for money, you're eventually going to get burned out.
yeah,
If you love doing it, you're going to get through those hurdles and you're going to figure out a way, no matter what, to make it successful. So,
mm,
definitely do what you love doing. Start it as a side hustle and find a way to make it a full time living.
amazing. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. And to the listeners out there, make sure to check out Ice Shaker at iceshaker.com.